Why force yourself to outshout the competition just to get your brand noticed?
You don't have to anymore. Welcome to Copy That Speaks.
I still laugh. I love that. I have to tell you, welcome to Copy That Speaks. I'll steal a line from the actual open. Hi, I'm Brian Brawdy, here as always with Mr. Lee Rowley. Lee, so nice to have you this evening. How's it? How's everything going, brother?
Hey, well, you know, some days you enjoy, some days you just kind of get through, and
Right.
you know. But we're getting through it. 100% success rate so far. So how about yourself?
Well, in the vein of getting through it, would you mind if I told someone a little bit about how you and I started our day?
Absolutely.
So for some reason, I'm in a parking lot in a car, and I'm stopping to get something somewhere. And I happen to be talking to Lee, and we talked about a friend of ours who never shovels the driveway. He's not very good. And Lee says at one point, he said, oh, well, you know, I'm not sure he could pick out a snow shovel in a police lineup. And it was just something I just enjoyed it, right? I started laughing right away. So about 4 hours later, I'm talking to a friend of mine, and he said, blah, 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 and I go, yeah. You know what? He couldn't pull a snow shovel out of a police lineup. Mm-hmm. She laughed. And I started getting like hives, right? Like I go, okay. So I lasted like 15 seconds, Lee, before I finally said, no, that's not my joke. I got to give full credit to Lee.
Well,
I got to give full credit to Lee.
It's okay to steal it for a little bit, but I got to tell you, you know, for fessing up, you know.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. That's enough. Enough. Practice.
I love it. Both of us have independent soundboards or sound effect boards. That's
all right.
Just great.
Let's get on with it.
Okay, let's get on with it. So let's get on with you telling us about this evening, because it is a very special episode of Copy That Speaks, even though it's episode number 9. Its title is Remembering Aria. So how about you take it from there?
Well, you know, 6 years ago today, one of the most profound events of my life happened, and my wife's life happened. We had to say goodbye to our only child, Aria, a couple weeks after her 10th birthday. She had complications of Alagille syndrome, which is a rare genetic disorder. We'll hear more about that later. And, you know, it's just... I'd love to say that I immediately did something with it. Sure. You know, I knew that I was going to have to, but at the same time, you know, I didn't run out and decide, you know, immediately to do something with it. On the way home from the hospital that day, with all of her toys and all of her clothes, but without her, I stopped at the liquor store and bought multiple 1.75 liter jugs of whiskey, not even good whiskey, like Old Crow. You know, like there's a bottom shelf rot gut crap that, you know, you find on the saloon floors, and a couple of cases of Coke, and my plan was to go home and drink myself to death. As crazy as that sounds to most of you, I'm sure, that was what was going through my head that day. And you know, I went through quite a few months of just drinking as soon as my feet hit the floor, sure, going up through the time I passed out at night, and still somehow getting work done. I don't know. But, you know, it was about 4 cocktails before I could stand to be alive again. So, you know, after quite a few months of this, it just occurred to me, you know, how kind Aria was, how she wanted people to be their best. She wanted people to be individually who they are and to shine. And, you know, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't going where obviously I couldn't succeed in drinking myself to death. I couldn't get that right. So, you know, I figured, let's try to do something with this. And so I set off into this long discovery of what the hell I'm supposed to do with this, because I'm hanging around and I used to be a parent, but I'm not really a parent anymore, and I'm just kind of hanging out in limbo.
Okay.
So, but I just found that she kind of had her own legacy of just how she looked at things. And I keep saying, been doing tons of podcasts and telling this story and talking about how she loved everybody and she wanted everybody to be happy. But the more I told that story, the more I realized that there was really another detail to that.
Okay.
She was kind and loving to people who accepted her as she was.
Okay.
Her skin was always yellow. She itched constantly from the bile, so she always frequently had scratches all over her face. And it caught attention. She had an ostomy bag that drained bile out because her liver didn't function properly, and it would leak, and she'd have to go to the nurse's office in the middle of class, and it just. But she kind of had this like tribe of misfits around her almost. These people that loved her unconditionally, and she would have done anything for those people. Those are the people that she wanted to shine. Those are the people that she loved to the moon and back. So I realized even more that it's you can't please everybody. As kind as she was, she took a lot of flack from kids and adults alike. I remember sitting at a restaurant with Carla and Aria, and having somebody actually just come up to the table and go, "What's wrong with her?" And she just shrugged it off, man. She was just like,
"Sure,
you just don't mean anything." So that's the legacy that I'm continuing, and I finally figured this out through the only vehicle I had. Because look, I'm good at like two things. Slinging words and like making chili. And making chili is not really a great career choice. So we got a call. So let's go ahead and get to that. I want to make sure we get plenty of time for that, and we can talk later.
Good evening. Thank you for calling All Natural Being. Who is this, please?
I'm good at like two things. Slinging words.
Hello?
Making chili is not really great.
Probably have you turn down your radio if you could, please. Who's the caller?
So let's go ahead and get to that. I want to make sure we get plenty of time for that.
Hello? All right, so while we're waiting on the caller, let me say hello to some folks here in the thread, Lee, if it's cool with you.
Okay.
I want to say hello quickly, and people want to say hello to you as well. But thank you to Candace and to Henry and to Wayne. Thank you for joining us. Candace said, "What a beautiful child. Wow. So heartbreaking." I understand that, Lee. Miriam is watching. Nellie is watching. Thank you for joining us at a very special edition of Copy That Speaks, remembering Aria. And do we have the caller on the line? Not?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
Hello.
Hi, who's this?
Hi, this is Roberta from the Alagille Syndrome Alliance.
Hi, Roberta. How are you?
Hi, Brian. I'm excellent.
If I could quickly, Roberta, Nellie says, "Lee, love you, Lee."
Oh.
And so, Roberta, we're just kind of catching up a little bit. Let me, I'll bring Lee up here so that he can say hello as well.
Hey.
And then we'll get right into the show.
Sure.
Hey, Roberta, how you doing? Uh-oh.
Roberta, can you hear Lee?
Yes, I believe so.
Oh, okay, great. So how we normally do this, Roberta, is that I want to hear all about... Lee, why don't you set it up for me? You'd be a lot better in terms of this, but set up for me what we want to achieve tonight with Roberta, and how that, a little bit about the what she does and what we're going to do this evening.
Exactly. Well, so in every episode, Roberta, we, as you know, we want to work on something that's marketing copy related, because what we're trying to do is help people who are business owners and nonprofit owners to be able to resonate with their ideal clients and customers through the marketing copy. Yes. So for you, we're going to be talking about, I think you're going to go into this in greater detail, we're going to be working on something of a value statement to get better interaction from the families and better support from the communities that you're serving. Is that correct? Hello.
Roberta, are you still with us?
I'm here, yes.
Okay, so are you able to hear Lee? He's talking about how he hopes to be able to build. We'll have you talk a little bit about what it is, an ALGSA, what that means, and then a little bit, we'll work out the audio if we figure out what's going on here. But to have you explain a little bit about it, and then we'll get to you and Lee and start with the tagline. So Roberta, could you give us a little bit of an idea?
Absolutely. So I'll tell you about the Alagille Syndrome Alliance. Well, first of all, that picture of Aria is just gorgeous. She absolutely was a shining light within our Alagille community, and, you know, Lee and Carla posted pictures of her and shared their life very openly with our Alagille community, and we thank them so much for that.
Well, thank you.
So the Alagille Syndrome Alliance is an international nonprofit that advocates for families with Alagille syndrome. We do that by helping our families. We do that by working to connect researchers, to be a part of what they're doing, to ultimately find better treatments, and, of course, the cure.
Okay.
In doing that, we do a lot of work, you know, to fundraise for the programs that we're doing. We also are looking to have a research grant. We rolled out several programs yesterday, which we're really, really excited about. A family assistance program. We have the Elena Caitlin Hahn Scholarship for Alagille students going into a health program, which is really great. So we're doing a lot of things to not only help our families, but to also, you know, it's critical to find researchers working in Alagille syndrome. And Alagille syndrome is so complex, and the genes are so complex that there aren't very many doing that. So we're on a mission, and we need our families, Alagille families, their friends, you know, all those who've lost children. If we can just rally together, we can find a cure for this disease.
Okay. Lee, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking, you know, where then is the disconnect? I mean, you know, because you know, I know somewhat that rare diseases they struggle to find funding, but where does that begin in terms of connecting with the families?
Roberta, Lee is asking, and probably what we can do, if you can turn your volume up a little bit so that you can hear Lee's voice as he's coming through. He's asking about the disconnect, and what he wants to do is craft a line, craft something that will actually help with the awareness to ALGSA. So where do you sense, Roberta, the disconnect is? What is it that Lee can focus on this evening to kind of help you bridge that gap between reality and other people understanding what it is that you're all about?
Sure. One of the things that we struggle with is that Alagille syndrome is very complex, and every person who has it has a different variation of that. So someone may have heavy liver disease, someone else may not have, you know, a heavy liver disease at all. That might be very mild. Someone might have extreme heart. Another person may not have heart at all. So I think one of the things that we run into are that because of that variance in the different organs, you know, it's hard to unite everybody. So if somebody has heavy liver disease, they tend to turn to, you know, liver disease foundations. Or if somebody has a heavy kidney, they tend to lean towards kidney foundation. And so what we're trying to do, and a goal of ours, is to unite all those families, unite the heart, the Alagille heart families, unite the Alagille liver families, and let them know that their voice can absolutely be heard here at the Alagille Syndrome Alliance, and that they can, they hold the power to what we can do as an organization to push research and help find better treatments and a cure.
Okay, so Lee, I mean that's a heavy thing there, because it would seem to me people are accustomed to one or the other, and that's where they kind of gravitate towards. Roberta, am I hearing that correctly? Where they think it's right, it must be this or it must be that, but they're really not drilling down, if you will, to get to the exact understanding that you need. Correct.
I think that is one of the issues that we face as a rare disease organization. Our Alagille syndrome is not black or white.
Sure.
It is so gray on so many levels, and until we can get all of our families to see the power that they hold and helping us and what we can do to help researchers and find scientists and work with scientists and work with the pharmaceutical companies.
Sure.
Until we get that backing, we may struggle a bit.
And are you finding that struggle is the case now? I imagine, Roberta, that struggle is the case now, where maybe the attention, is that the best word, or the attention, that the research dollars follows the attention, and if the attention isn't there, then the donations and the research dollars aren't there either.
Absolutely. I think that's a huge part of it. And then we also just run into the fact that we're a small nonprofit, and nonprofits for rare diseases, typically they struggle.
Sure.
There are some that are doing well, and we certainly want to do better as an organization. We have a lot of things yet that we're looking to improve, some processes that we're improving. We're definitely on our way, but it's all a part of the journey, starting small and growing and building that attention and sharing our story as an organization, our story as, families, and getting out in the news and just getting involved. And all of that absolutely adds in.
Okay, so what would be the one thing, Roberta, that you would say, when you look at, the story of a genie in a bottle? Well, I've known from coming to understand the way Lee works, if you said, okay, here's the one thing that I need to come out of this interaction, what would be the one thing that you'd say, Lee, if I could come up with a train of thought that would communicate X, then I'm sure we could bridge the gap. What would that be?
I would say that would be, without our families standing up with us,
okay,
we're not going to be able to cure this disease. Without them standing beside us and helping us, without them understanding that the patient voice is critical to the work being done,
okay,
I think that we're going to struggle.
Okay, well, now I'm just getting, and I'm sorry that we can't work out some of the audio that we have, some of the audio issues we have going on tonight. Roberta, if I could just ask you maybe to turn up. Yeah, there you go. But Lee just texted me saying, now, Lee, did you go with the Lifeline first, or did you want to go with the three of the Uniting Hearts, Empowering Families, and Finding a Cure?
This is how this works. We've instituted, and just to make it more fun, I didn't tell you about it. This Lifeline thing, where if I'm kind of stuck on something, because you and I work together in real life, buddy.
Gotcha.
So this is what we do all the freaking time. I sit down, I'll write copy, I'll do the first draft, and then he and I will just lock each other and lock ourselves in a room with Diet Pepsi and coffee and sprinklers and stuff, and we'll just hammer out every single line. And
I like that.
And that's why I'm doing the Lifeline now, because I'm working with something
like phone a friend. It's kind of like phone a friend. And that thing. Okay,
something like that.
So Roberta, let me ask you: Uniting Hearts. I love that. Empowering Families and Finding a Cure. What say you?
I think that's along the lines of what we need to aim for. How do we empower our families, empowering our families to stand up and make their voice heard. I think that definitely sends the message.
Cool.
So, so almost, I'm thinking, Lee, as I hear this, I'm thinking that, in terms of communities, or it's only the heart of a community that will eventuate a cure, right? It's only empowering the hearts of these families, like you say, uniting hearts, empowering families, finding a cure. I think that's pretty profound, because it's only in unison that that's going to happen. What say you?
Which you mean?
You, yes, if you would.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that covers it very, very succinctly and very powerfully. And I'm definitely open to working with it. Do you, in the next 2 minutes, you have anything to throw into the mix to make it better?
Well, I'm looking at it now, going uniting hearts, empowering families, and finding a cure.
You know what? That families almost needs to have one syllable.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Hearts.
Sorry, we're being nerds.
Uniting
Roberta.
hearts, empowering minds. It could almost be
Empowering
uniting
minds. I like
hearts,
that.
empowering minds.
I like that.
Finding a cure.
I dig it. What do you think, Roberta?
Roberta, what say you?
Yeah, I think, we were making some T-shirts. We have a new T-shirt that just came out, 2 of them, and in that process, our executive director had put "Standing Together for a Cure," and that's right there. That and uniting hearts. That's exactly what we're going for. Is everybody understanding the power that they hold to help. Just even one family has the power to share their story and make a difference, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. So I love it. I think that's right where we're right where we need to go.
Awesome.
Okay, so Lee, what I have speaking of a lifeline, that text is just for me. If we look at uniting hearts, empowering minds, finding a cure, it's the blending of the two. It's the compassion, plus it's also, the cognitive wherewithal. It's the research that has to be done. So it's almost like empathy and research.
That's
you know what I mean?
Good point.
Of putting those together.
Ooh.
That's what I thought
Yeah.
of when I saw what you had said. So for me, it would be that it's the blending of all those things. And Roberta, did you tell me your executive director said standing together for a cure? I believe is what you said?
Standing together for a cure. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then, it could very well be, if that's on a T-shirt, that if you have something like, I think, and I'm looking on your website, what do we have? Stay strong, press on.
Stay strong, press on was a tagline that one of our ALGS moms, Kristen Baher, she used to be on our board of directors.
Okay.
She really pulled that together, and that was something we've used now for the last 2 years, and it's a powerful message. It is a powerful message. It's one of, getting through your day-to-day, the difficulties in the day-to-day, and continuing to press on. At the Alagille Syndrome Alliance now, we've tried to move past just hanging on.
Right.
And now we're on a mission. We're on a mission to find better treatments. We're on a mission to grab hold of those who are working in these, to facilitate these treatments,
Sure.
who are working in the clinical trials. We are going out there, seeing scientists now. We're trying to connect them with patients, families. We're trying to connect them to other scientists. We're trying to break the stigma of scientists working in isolation and alone without ever meeting families.
Right.
Our board in February went out to Sioux Falls and donated bio samples to a researcher out there. We're done with this. We're done pressing on here. We are on a mission to find a cure.
Awesome.
And what I think I love about it, Lee, when it comes to they're on a mission to find a cure. Uniting hearts, that's a mission oriented, right? You're uniting hearts, empowering minds, finding a cure. And I just think something about as Roberta said, putting a face to it.
Right.
That these are real,
humanizing
it. Yeah. That finding a cure. I don't know, but something where it's Go ahead.
When I think about uniting hearts, I love it, but it almost doesn't feel strong enough. It almost doesn't feel aggressive enough.
Oh, listen to that! I like that.
And I hate to be like that, but
no,
we're done.
Sure,
we're done. We're ready. We've lost too many children. We've lost Aria. We have families that are suffering. We can't do this anymore.
Yeah, and you know what, Roberta? I can hear it in your voice. You know what I mean? And I see Lee shaking his head as he's listening to you. We can hear in your voice. So let's do this. Why don't we, we're coming up at about 25 after the hour, Lee, and I want to spend a few minutes with you. How about we work offline, if that's good with Roberta, so then we can say, hey, can we make that a little, like I hear Roberta saying, it's time to kick in. Right? We're not.
Yeah.
So, maybe kicking indoors, empowering minds, finding a cure.
Right.
But something to speak to her sense of, look, we've been on the back burner long enough.
Yep.
We're coming
good.
for you.
I'm definitely good with going.
There's definitely a sense of urgency here that we have felt now more than ever. And now, on top of it, we have the most opportunity to solve this than we've ever had. And that is, there's hope in that. And not only that, but there's innovation and novel science going on around Alagille. And we couldn't be in a better time for Alagille. So we want to grab hold of that and run with it. And it's folks like Lee and you, Brian, who are going to help us catapult to where we need to be in order to accomplish that.
And, and before I get ready to say goodnight, and I'll have Lee say goodnight as well, when I hear her, Lee, what I think of is, if you were looking and you were speaking to someone who'd say, oh, well, we're doing this and that, you could almost picture Roberta saying, look, we're coming for a cure.
Right.
Like, we're coming to kick ass and take names,
Absolutely.
right? And it almost speaks to her sense of, I'm done being pushed around by you, right? However it is, we're coming for a cure.
We're coming.
Yeah, we're coming.
It's
something like that. You know what I mean?
I like that.
So, Roberta, here's what we'll do. We'll hook you and Lee up. Obviously, you guys know each other, but we'll get you together and we'll figure out a way of making it a little more, you know what I mean? I'm coming for you. Right? A little more Viking.
Terrific.
A little more
Absolutely.
Viking, a little less kumbaya. So we'll do that.
A little more Viking.
A little more
exactly where we're going.
Okay. Roberta, thank you so very much. We wish you nothing but continued success. And if you'd come back at some point, I know you and Lee will hang out a little bit later and work around this concept of coming for a cure. But thank you so very much for your time. It was a pleasure meeting you and learning about all the good work that you and your foundation is doing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Thanks, Brian
You're
and
welcome.
Lee.
You're
to you soon.
You're more than welcome. Farewell.
Thank you.
All right, Lee, sorry about that. A little bit of audio trouble there. I suspect it may have been just the audio was turned down so that it wasn't reverberating through, and she couldn't quite hear. But, boy, I have to tell you, brother, I'd want her in my corner.
Absolutely.
If she ever takes a side hustle as a cut man, right? I'd put her in my corner to fix whatever cuts that I get, because we're coming for a cure. It's almost like a rallying cry. But I know, and you know damn well we take all the time we want tonight. So I want to get back to a little bit of what you're thinking and some of the other things, so that we can spend as much time this evening with what you want people to know, and what you, as a parent that's dealt with this, the first person head on. What do you want people to know, right? What do you want people to know? And if you could, brother, also, I said this earlier. I don't know if you were listening when I said it, but, Carla's smile lights up a room. You turn every head in the room because it's you. But Carla's smile lights up a room. So it's inspiring knowing everything that you've gone through and continue to grow through. that you're even able to get out of bed, that you're even able to function. I can't even imagine. So maybe you could address a little bit of that before we run.
Well, one, you don't know what you're capable of until you don't have a choice. And two, you're a lot stronger than you think you are. You know, I say all the time, you know, you work with what you got, and what you got is uniquely brilliant. So, you know, I'm not, you know, I'm nothing special. I'm just a guy who chose not to give up. You know, my wife is very special, and she's a woman who chose not to give up. So, you know,
That's
I mean,
great.
it's, you know, and I hear stories from other people that I think, I look at them and I think, oh my goodness, there's no way I could live through that. And then I stop and go, wait, no. No, I am bulletproof at this point, basically, you know, it's like, and honestly, that was the point where I just stopped giving a rat's furry crack about what anybody thought. Because everything that I thought was important up until then just shattered. So, you know.
You know, it's interesting, if I could interrupt for just a second, because as I hear you say that, and I hear Roberta saying, enough, I'm done with that. We're coming for a cure. What jumped out at me is that you both have that same sense of, look, I'm going to do this. I'm going to survive. I'm not going to let this derail me. And it's fascinating to me that you both, I meant it as a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek, but go Viking. You both are like, here's my shield. Let's go. Let's mix it up. Let's do this.
Right.
And that jumped out at me. And I'd like, if you don't mind, can I throw up a few more pictures before
Please
we
do.
Before we
Please
get ready
do,
to go?
sure.
And
Absolutely.
because I earlier this evening, it was just a beautiful picture. The one that I had on All Natural Being. It looks like maybe it was a school picture or something, but absolutely beautiful picture. And I thought, if you wanted to, here was another great one of throwing out the peace sign.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at her smile.
Franklin Park Conservatory, which is one of her favorite places in the world. She loved to go to the Blooms and Butterflies exhibit that they would have every year, where you're just wandering among plants and butterflies. You know?
Sure. And this one here, obviously able to mix it up and play and get dirty and all of it.
She just refused not to. And the little girl on the left is, and she'll probably kill me for saying this. This is Alex's little sister.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She'll probably let the air out of my tires.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll protect you.
Yeah.
We'll protect you from that. I want to ask you about this one.
Okay. Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Pittsburgh, maybe. Pittsburgh, maybe. I can't think of the year. That is Cecilia, who was one of her friends from the day she was born. So.
Okay, and here she is with another group of friends. I would think, yeah.
Yeah, those are some rotten little kids. Carla was a Girl Scout troop leader.
Oh, wow.
And organized this event. They were doing a parade in Westerville, and just generally being ornery.
Right.
So,
you know what? When you say that, it makes perfect sense to me. Carla would be perfect at that gig. Absolutely perfect.
Loved it.
Yeah, I can see that. And then I was going to get you to comment on this one, because she's got another beautiful smile here. She's always smiling.
Would you see? Yeah. Have you seen any pictures where she? Look, she had an ostomy bag. She itched. She had people make fun of her. She hurt. She was sick. She was tired. She was, she was jaundiced. Sure. She had all these things, and yet I've yet to find a picture where she wasn't smiling.
Right.
And like, what if we could take just a little bit of that?
Sure.
What if you could take that and infuse that into your day and go, you know what? I'm not draining bile from my liver into a bag that leaks all over my clothes.
Sure.
I haven't had 6 heart surgeries.
Sure.
What the hell excuse do I have to mope and piss around and just, woe is me and da-da-da. I did it for a long, long time before I finally said, you know what? Enough.
And Lee, do you sense that she was so good at it at such a young age of going, so what, swing with you on, next, I'm out of it, right? It's just something. As we get older, do we become more susceptible to feeling like life's just been cruel to us? Do you think that maybe when you're younger, you're like, yeah, maybe not, whatever. I'm gonna play with the hand that's dealt.
Sure.
Do you suspect that as we get older, we just, my brother John and I he has a term for the military, but we say it all the time of embrace the suck. Right? You just got to embrace the suck.
Right.
Do you sense that when you're younger, that's something that works, and then as you get older, you just maybe you get tired of it, and that's why you get? Lisa says here in the thread, what a strong, amazing girl. She is an inspiration. Lisa, I can tell you, not only is she, but knowing her folks, they are absolutely inspiring to me as well. But Lee, if I could have you address that? Do you think that as we get older, it accumulates, right? Like it's just, I don't know. It just seems to pile up. What do you think?
Well, we talk about how you lose muscle elasticity as
Sure.
you grow, how you lose, collagen elasticity. Is there any reason that you wouldn't suffer from mental lack of
Sure.
elasticity as you get older if
Sure.
you don't do something about it?
Sure.
Mental rigidity is really, I think, what the core of it is the inability to be flexible and about everything but your own self-worth.
Okay.
Because your own self-worth shouldn't be flexible. It shouldn't be susceptible
Right.
to the opinions of others. And that's, I say all the time that I learned more from Aria than she did from me. And I'm sure Carla would probably tell you the same thing.
All right. So, let me say hello to Carla. I also want to say hello to Jenny, who's here in the thread as well. Carla, we're thinking about you, obviously. Today, I've been thinking about you all day, actually. Lee, as we get ready to wrap it up, is there, what would you like everyone else to know? And, obviously we're going to have the replay if you'd like to see this again, and share it with anyone that maybe can help in terms of Roberta or Lee or other people in getting the message out there. Christian said, Aria lived her life the way we should all live our lives. She smiled, she laughed, and she loved. That's Kristen McDowell.
Okay,
Just so
hang
you
on,
know.
there we go. Okay.
There you go. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, brother. So as we get ready to wrap, what would you like our parting thoughts to be? If I can, let me just say that Henry says, this is the reason I say we must return to the kid inside of us so we can get back to living life instead of life living us. Thank you, Henry, very much. Very profound as always. Aria, Kathy says, Kathy, and I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, Placus. Kathy Placus says, Aria was an amazing little girl, as are her parents, but that's how I feel. So, brother, give us a thought as we get ready to run.
You're bulletproof if you decide to be. That's all I can say. And, I hope that, most people get to carry on their parents' legacy. We get this strange privilege of carrying on our daughter's legacy, but it's all about what you do with it. It's all about what you do with it. I made the wrong choice for 6 months and spent another 5 years trying to figure out what the right one was. But, I didn't give up.
Well, I would say, brother, that maybe you needed that 5 months to teach you not to give up, right? So I don't know if I necessarily would say, oh, well, for 5 months I did it wrong or I was lost or this and that. It may have very well been the workout you needed to go through to start to build that strength. But we're going to go ahead. I can't think of a better way of ending our show this evening than with just, I think, the coolest picture, the biggest, brightest smile of Aria, and then on behalf of Lee and behalf of Carla, and everyone tied to Copy That Speaks, we thank you all so very much for joining us for this very special edition, the 9th edition, titled Remembering Aria, as I'm sure we all will. Have an absolutely fantastic evening.
Thanks, everybody.